All right.
Recorded. And then go to there, share.
Okay.
And then you're done, and you go back up here for the top shot. Okay? Awesome.
Good question.
I bet there's, I mean, if you don't mind tap water, I bet there's water up there. Or we're gonna, oh, take it. That first.
You haven't onboarded yet?
Okay. No, I've had a few like super new ones.
Yes.
That's what I want. This is supposed to be like, you know, basics to get you from beginning to end when you go under contract. I'm not going to go into anything super fancy because I don't want to confuse anybody. This is like for newbies.
And
Yeah. As I remember when I started, you know, those Dotloop classes, but I left not knowing what the heck I was doing still. Like I would go and like they would just already be in it. And I'm like, wait, how do you get there? Where is this? What is this even for? I had to just, that's how I teach myself. Oh, good. See, that's what I'm hoping that, because I was trying to let everyone know, hey, this is like intro. So if you already know how to do all this, you're going to be bored. So don't come.
Which one of these flat are we looking?
KW guest, I know, is usually open.
There's one on here open. That's one.
KW guest,
There's one.
yeah, that one works.
Okay.
I don't even know if there is one that you can log into, what the login information is. I've always just been on the KW guest one. Yeah, if you have your laptop, go ahead and log into Dotloop. If you've never logged into Dotloop, it's probably your KW email and Realtor1 with capital R is probably the password. If not, that's okay. Can't log in yet. But try that. Try your KW email if you have one. And then Realtor1 with capital R. And if you can't log in, if you don't have your KW email yet, that's okay. You can still watch me and take notes or whatever. And I've got handouts in there with directions, so when you leave, get something. Hopefully those help. Hi! There's a little sign-in sheet up here. If your name's not on it yet, because I know a lot of people are super new and haven't onboarded yet, so if your name's not on it, you can write it in and check by your name, and then you can grab a folder, and then you can come up here because I just need to, I need your email because I'm going to send you all something to practice with. And there's a front and back on there too, so maybe on the back. You now. And your email, and it doesn't have to be your KW email, just whatever email that you can use today. Cool. Thank you. And there's snacks in the back too, so help yourself. Hey. How are you? Are you coming to my class? No, you don't need it.
what class is
Dotloop.
it?
You're good. Yeah, exactly. See ya.
Can I already just take 2 seconds?
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking for cash. Anybody have cash buyer investors? I'm looking for investment deals right now.
A lot of them haven't even gotten their onboarding done yet, so we're like super duper
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, keep an eye out. If you do, let me know. Enjoy.
Have a cookie, Aaron, if you want. Hey, if you have just come in, come up here to the front and sign in on this sign-in sheet. There's a front and back. If your name is not on there because you're super new, that's fine. Just write it in one of the blanks. And then grab a folder and then come up and give me your email. Please. Okay.
Nick is on.
I probably have yours already. Yes, I feel like we've emailed before. They're all the same, right? The folders? Yeah, they're all the same. Just there wasn't enough in one color. Hi. What's your email?
Robert D. Which,
Robert D. What's the last name?
which, B-L-I.
Which at Gmail? Thank you. Email.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be your KW, just whatever. And there's snacks in the back, so please help yourself to those. Yeah, that's fine. Hi. Are you here for the class as well? Yeah. You can sign in. If you're not on there, just write your name. A blank. Grab a folder, and then you can come up here to me and give me your email address. There I am. Thank you. Wow, we're filling up tables. Yeah. Yeah, we need more tables. No, I think we'll be okay. Yeah. Hey. Hey, sign in and just grab a folder, and then what's your email? I guess I've not emailed you. That's what you have on there.
No, what's real? You know what you do? I should do.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it's like.
Anyone? Yep, Really? Oh, that makes way more sense. Yes, that's very hard. Just, you should have done 8 minutes.
Oh, it's not mine? Oh, I mean, it's right?
I grab a folder, they're all the same, so you can grab whatever color you want.
Thank you very much.
If you're just coming in and I haven't seen you yet, sign in on the sheet. If your name's not on there, just write it. Grab a folder, and then come up and see me to give me your email, or you can just shout it to me here. And there's food in the back, some snacks. Here, do you want green?
Okay.
There you go. You're welcome. Nobody wants to sit there except Kate. Nobody. Yeah. And if you haven't already, log into your Dotloop if you can. Some of you may not have access to that yet.
What's her name?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they just want to get like an idea of there, yeah.
Yeah, and go ahead and just write your name on the bottom. Okay.
And
Thank you. Nice to meet you. We'll put the lines together. We're- Okay. Yeah. You're welcome. And see you next time.
Come here. This is like really stuff that I have to do. I never. Nope. I'm gonna give a couple more minutes because I know there'll be graduates. I know, it's full. I thought like Terry was. Our practice did a lot better. Attendance. What else? I think that's it. Logging in Dotloop. I'm gonna be sending you guys an email, so with the practice document that we're gonna practice putting in Dotloop and splitting. So if you wanna go ahead and get your email stuff. I haven't sent it yet, but I will. So, won't forget yet. Yeah. I know. I know, I have your application in my folder, but I have to. Hi. If you want to, I'm right there, that's where you're at. No, I probably, are you like, you probably want to, you want to sign up on the, that's okay, this is, yeah. You can just check by your name, and then there's a folder, and then we're going to take your email. I'm going to email you guys something. What is your email? For some reason, I have you in here. Interesting. Maybe I emailed you before, who knows? And then.
For people probably a copy.
Yeah, exactly. Whose team are you on? Are you on a team?
Yeah.
Where are the people? This is my first one.
Oh, okay. Oh, so.
I don't know.
Yes.
Anyway, and if you want to go ahead and log into your email and Dotloop, we're going to use Dotloop in here. Okay. I think we'll go ahead and just start the preliminaries. My name's Chelsea. This is my first class I've ever taught, so I'm like kind of nervous. But hopefully it'll be good. So just a show of hands, who has never even used Dotloop or done a green sheet and like you're brand new? Okay. So the rest of you are just, have you just done a few or like less than 5? Okay, perfect. Okay, well, what I kind of do, I'll tell you how I started and what I do now and kind of how I moved into that. I started out on a team as a buyer's agent and realized over a few years what my strengths were, which was contract to close. I liked that better, so I kind of, over the past year, started my own contract to close business here. So it depends on the week, but I could be working for like 10 agents at a time, doing all of their contract to close. I think I'm closing 36 contracts this month or something. So I feel like I've created a system that's easy to follow, foolproof to a point. So I can share that with you. So basically, I'm going to go over, because I know I do have a few admins in here as well, so this is a lot of what you'll be doing. Once you get a contract, what you're supposed to do with it from there, and what you have to do for the office, because that's the stuff that they don't teach you in real estate school, and you start and you're like, okay, so I got something sold, now what do I do? Because there's all this paperwork that has to be done through this system called Dotloop and green sheets and all that, so hopefully I can make that a little easier on you. Hi!
I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you are fine. Come up and get a folder. And you can sign in on that sheet. If you're brand new, you may not be on there, but you can just write your name in. And then, what is your email? Myrick? Yeah, I have you in here too. Like, unless of emails. What? Okay. So, I'm going to email you guys all a document because that's what we're going to use to practice splitting in Dotloop. So, I'm going to send it right now. Yeah.
So my issue yesterday was that I had 2 different email addresses for my buyers. But when I know they were also using so when they would pull it up, the farmer would click on her name, but then I would where it had her initials, and we pulled it up to ask for the signature to click and so I mean that was just really good.
You know, Dotloop, like any website, can be glitchy every once in a while. I always just figure out, like, if something like that ever happens and I can't figure out what's going on, I'll just figure out the signatures and resend it clean. And that usually takes care of any weird glitches going on. Because sometimes people like say, it's not letting me sign the third blank. I'm like, well, I just figure it out and try it again. We'll get there. Okay. You just wait. Okay, so I just sent you all a document, so if you don't get that within the next few minutes, let me know. We don't need it quite yet, but I'll try and resend it. Okay. Let me go ahead and pull up my Dotloop. Yes. This mouse is like all over my it's very different. Nice. And if you do not have a laptop or you can't log into Dotloop because you're new and don't have your KW email or whatever, that's okay. Just, I have handouts in there that kind of walk you through the process. So take whatever notes you want. But luckily for green sheets, I have that printed out so you can actually fill it in on your own. Okay. So, once you get something under contract, obviously you may, if it's a listing, you may have already had some stuff in the loop just thrown in there, like all the listing documents. Or even if you have a buyer, maybe you've already set up the loop under their name just so you can have their buyer docs in there. But if you have something under contract and have not started anything, hello.
One is passing through.
Okay. You are good. Take a cookie on your way out.
I was hoping you'd say that.
I don't want to take any of them home. Okay, so the first thing you'll want to do is get your loop set up. So is everyone, are we all in Dotloop that can be? Okay, good deal. So we're going to use this example on here. I believe I may already have one. So is everyone here at this main screen? Okay, so you're going to click Add Loop, and you'll type in the property address, which I have 123 Main Street, Ozark, Missouri, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Ozark, no. That's what I meant. Sometimes, yeah, it'll auto-populate. Once you have the address, you'll just click continue. It'll ask if you want to select a template. I personally never do this because it's gonna throw in a ton of forms that compliance doesn't even require, and it just makes it a little more messy. So I always skip because I want to control what I'm gonna be putting in there. I don't want a bunch of extra stuff. So just a little tip, but you know, if you want, it'll upload, you know, listing documents automatically, all that stuff, if you want to choose one. But I
My
do
document's a
not.
little old, if I only have a loop name photo with fish. And not template.
Mine's over.
Oh, I don't know, that's weird. Upgrade now. No.
Yeah. Just. as
But
long
you're
as I pay-
okay, if
as long as I pay.
Once a year. Yeah, you want to go.
Oh, okay, thank you. Did not know that. Okay, so continue. You don't need to upload a photo if you want. Sometimes if it's already in Flex, it'll upload the photo for you automatically, but I personally don't care, so I never put it in. Okay, and then your loop is created. So you go into your loop, view loop. And there you go, which Dotloop is basically just your online file folders. I mean, it's where you keep all your documents so that you don't have to have hard copies of everything. So, okay. I need to go. Oh gosh. Sorry guys, I gotta go into my email. So go ahead and get into your email. Oh my gosh. Go, yeah, this is like, this map is so good. Okay. Okay, do you see the email that I sent you guys? Hopefully. Okay. So say you got your offer back from the other agent in a big, long PDF, like a lot of times you do with 50 pages from the other agent. We're gonna put that in our loop. So click on it. And Dotloop only will accept PDFs. So you have to make sure you download it as a PDF. So if you've never done that before, go to print. And instead of printing, it'll normally pop up, there'll be a printer option here. Hit this down arrow, click save as PDF. Save it, and you can name it whatever you want. So I would just do 123 Main Street contract or something, but just whatever you remember, so you can go grab it. And then save, so now that's a PDF that you can work with. So go back into your loop, so we're going to upload that contract to the loop. So since this is something that's already saved on our computer, it's not a template, it's already something that's been sent to us that's filled out. Go to browse, because it's going to browse your computer. There it is, so click it, open. Okay, so now we have this document in here that's a lot of times really long, multiple things put together. So like this has the contract, it's got seller's disclosures, and it's got the employment agreement. Okay, so to keep your loop organized, you're gonna want everything separated. So what you're gonna do is split this document. And since you've uploaded it as a flat PDF, you can split this. So go to File and click Split Document. And this happens to be in, there's three. There's the contract, there's the seller's disclosures, and there's the employment agreement. So what I do when it's really long, you'll get like 50-page PDFs of the contract, the disclosures, government loan rider, employment. like, oh my gosh. I upload it in a Dotloop and I take a little note and I scroll through and I say, okay, contract is pages 1 through 8. Government loan riders, pages 9 to 9, because it's 1 page, whatever. I go through and write it down because you'll need to know that when you're splitting them here. So once you have that all written down, it's in 3, so you go to 3. There's 3 different types of documents. So file 1 is the contract, so you'll name it contract. And it's 8 pages, so it goes from page 1 to page 8. And it'll try to auto-populate these numbers, but they're not always correct, so don't pay attention to those. The next one was the seller's disclosures, which is 6 pages, so starts at 9, so 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15. So it goes from page 9 to page 15. So you'll put 9 to 15. And then the last one was the employment of broker by buyer. I think this one was 16. Anyway, okay, so you got all your documents in there and how they should be split. So you just click split document and then done. And then once you go back out, then it's nicely split all of the documents into their own little file. In your little folder, I have a picture of how I keep my loops organized. I believe this example is a buyer loop, but this has always helped me just keep track of everything, keep everything super simple. It's like a printed out screenshot of a loop, and it's 2 pages. And those are all of the required documents that compliance is going to make you have in your loop. Obviously, on the listing side, instead of your employment broker by buyer, it's going to be your employment broker by owner. But that is how I set up my loops, and I put them in different folders. So I'll make a contract folder, an employment folder, a financing folder. So I'll put, the contract and signed seller's disclosures in the folder. If there's a government loan rider or pre-approval letter, I'll put it in a financing folder. So how you do that is, okay, say we want this employment of broker by buyer in a folder called buyer documents. So you'll go up here and click add folder. And these 3 buttons over here, or 3 dots, you can click rename and it'll let you edit the name of the folder. So we'll name it buyer documents. And then just click out so that and this is super easy because Dotloop didn't used to let you do this, and now it does, and it's my favorite thing. Just click and drag the document into that folder, and now it's in there. So you can move stuff around between folders. It makes it really super easy. Now, this is my way of organizing. You can use one folder called contract if you want, as long as all of your documents are in there. You don't have to do anything super fancy. It's just my way of keeping things organized. So you can do however you want on that. Okay, so next, what you're going to want to do, and this is all part of setting up your loop. This is what I do when I get a contract. The first thing I do is organize this loop, make sure everyone's names are in there, make sure everything's in order and split properly. It's going to make your life so much easier when you try and send everything to the title company or the other agent and all that stuff is already in there. So to clear my mind, that is the first thing I do is set up my loop. And if you'll look, I've got a couple, like the first page in your folder, my buyer closing checklist. you can see that that's the first thing on my list, and I really do stick to that because it just makes everything so much easier. Okay, so adding a person to the loop. This will allow you to have a contact in there to send them documents to e-sign. So we're gonna go through that, how to do that.
Whenever you're sending a contract to another agent, do you always send your email? Is that what you're doing?
Some people actually do. I've had agents send me all their employment documents, and I'm like, I don't know this one, but no. And I will kind of go over when we get to the contract to close part. I'll kind of show you, okay, here's the documents I sent. So, hi, I'm gonna give you a folder. You're okay. We're going through an example in Dotloop right now. So I don't know if you have a Dotloop login yet. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, so, and if you have any questions, also just yell out and stop me. So it's not formal by any means. Okay, so to add a person, go down, scroll down to the bottom, and click add person. So we're gonna add a buyer. I'm gonna use Mark Stewart. We're all gonna add him to it. So, his email populates for me, but once you type in their name, it'll make you type in their email. Type that in there. Never add to your team a buyer, seller, or the other agent. The only person that should be, if you add someone to the team, that means they can edit in your loop. That's what that means. So you only want to add someone to the team if they're like an admin or whoever. Really, that's pretty much it, an admin or another agent on your team. And it'll make you click their role. So Mark is our buyer. Click his role. The rest is not required. So once you got the email and his role in there, and if you want to add the phone just for reference, cool. Just click add person. So now he's in there as a contact. He's your buyer. And if you've never added a signature on a document, I'm going to show you that too real quick. Just open up the document. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. So you go up here to add signature, and you can see there's lots of options here. So you can add signature, initials, add a text, add the date, add a checkbox if you need to like check one of these boxes electronically. You can click right here and it'll put a box there for you to check. But as far as just sending for someone to e-sign, click add signature. And this is already signed up, but you'll put it right here over the signature box. You'll go up here to assign it. Click the name who you're wanting to send it to. Yes.
Can you back up a little bit?
Yes.
To add signature.
So open whatever document you're needing to add a signature to, if it's contract or whatever.
Okay.
You go up to the top here to add.
I see it. Okay.
Add signature, and it'll give you a little bar to drag. And then when you need to drop it, just place it where you want and then click.
Perfect.
And it'll let go of it for you. And if you need to erase it, there's a little X right here, and it'll go away if you need to move it or something. But so we'll add signature. Let's not actually send this to Mark. This is going to kill me 20. And you'll go to save and share, and you can see that his name will be clicked, and you just click share, and it'll send it to him to e-sign. And so it will alert you when he's signed, and you can see it in the loop too. It'll tell you whether it's signed or if you're waiting on him to sign. Okay, so we won't actually send it to him.
You want to send it to me, I can sign it or whatever if you want a live person. So I can actually respond.
Oh, it's all right. So if you send it to someone and they haven't signed yet, there will be a little bar here that says waiting on someone.
Yeah. It shows you who's viewed it also.
Right, and if you wave your mouse over, it'll say, oh, this person has signed, but this person hasn't. It just tells you who's signed and who hasn't. Once it's signed, this that says not shared will say signed. That's when you know it's completely signed and you can send it wherever you need to. Does that make sense to everybody? No? If not, I can slow down and show you again. And again, if you want to start out getting everything hard copy signed and uploading it as a PDF and putting it in there and then splitting it, that way you don't have to mess with signatures, that's fine too. You do not have to have everything e-signed. It just makes it so if you can't meet with your client, you know, makes it a little easier that way. And by the way, I'm going to try and get done with this part a little early so that if anyone needs extra help or has specific questions, I can answer any of those that I don't get answered during this. Okay. So, and then the last thing I do is I fill out this information. So if this is a buyer, or if you can see if it's a listing, you have the option. So it's a buyer, we're gonna say it's under contract. You know, you can fill in this information at the top, the sales price, so that it shows when you pull up your loop. It just helps, again, with referencing it. Okay. So once you have your loop set up and all your documents are in there, nice and organized, you've got all your contacts in there, the next thing that I personally do is fill out my cover sheet, which mine's super lame. It's the 3rd page, but I swear it's the best thing for me personally because it's simple, and when I look at it, it's everything that I need for my green sheet. It's everything that the title company needs to know. And it's just easy for me to see that way. You can make your own cover sheet however you want. But what's going to help you the most is everything that we're going to go over on your green sheet. That's what you're going to want on your cover sheet, because then you can fill out your green sheet super fast when you just look at your cover sheet. So once I set up my loop, I go through the contract, fill out my cover sheet of all the information I need to know, address, purchase price, when it went under contract. Just the more information that you can write down for yourself, the easier your life is going to be. Because trust me, when someone calls and, you know, title company has a question and they call and you're like, oh crap, I gotta go look up my contract in my loop to answer that question. If you have a cover sheet with everything you need to know, you can just look at it real quick. It's way easier. So that's what makes filling out your green sheet easier. So that's what I do next. After that, and I'm sure you've heard about submitting your loop to compliance and all that. We're not there yet. So this is what I do before I submit a loop. So we're going to fill out our green sheet next. Instead of actually doing it on the computer, I printed out a green sheet in your folder, because that way if you get stuck and you leave, you can reference that and it should get you through it. So we're going to fill that out together. And that's the example that we're going to use. Hopefully you can all see that to fill out your green sheet. Where's my pen? Does everyone have a pen? A writing utensil that needs one? Oh, yeah. It was just on the table. So you can use it if you need.
I was still trying to figure out how we can make that signature from the one that I just put on. And you're doing how to clear all.
Click on it.
Oh, you click on this one.
Click on the box. And then push that next.
Well, that was just one that had to be clear all. If you were talking about just if you had to eat.
Yeah.
Oh, you would?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Unless they've already signed. Are you talking about they've already signed and you need to clear it?
No, but like how one picked that other person.
Yeah, I would just go through and clear all this out like that.
Oh, okay, there's not a clear all you have to
That I know of. Unless you might go and highlight, like drag
go.
over all of
them
them.
and then click.
Yeah, I don't know. I just do it manually.
Okay.
Usually I just. Okay. So can everyone see their green sheet papers in there? It looks like this, where it's these little boxes. It says residential at the top. It says green tea at the top as well. So I am going to do mine up here so that you can see what it looks like on the actual computer and where to go. But you guys can just fill yours out on here. I have always done my green sheets through my KW. I think there's a way to do them through Dotloop, however, I have never done that. So I'm going to teach you my way. It's just what I've always done. I think there was like some reason that I never started it that way, and then I've just done it that way forever. So that's just what I keep doing. It works fine. So if someday you want to find out how to do it through Dotloop, go find Nicole. But for now, this is how we're going to learn. Either way, it gets the same result. So you'll log into your MyKW, and I have this printed out, directions on how to do this in here. You'll go to Technology, Green Sheet. You'll go up here to Create a Green Sheet. And by the way, all a green sheet is you're filling out how the splits are done, what your commission specifically is on this property. It just tells the office, here's how to pay me. Okay, so this is kind of weird, but it'll ask you these two questions. Are you the listing agent? If you are, you still click no. Is this a KW listing? If it is, you still click no, both times. No and no, always. Okay, and on your computer, it'll show up red. You only have to fill out the red fields, luckily. And on your hard copies, it's the ones with the little star by them. Those are the required fields. And if you try to submit it and you haven't filled out a required field, it will tell you, hey, you have to go back and fill out this blank. So don't worry too much about it. Okay, so green sheet type. So this, we're gonna say this is a residential. It's pretty standard. The contract date, so that's just asking what day did you go under contract. So we'll say today. You fill that out. Close date, okay, we're gonna say this is closing June 13th, a month from now. Okay, transaction type, this is where you choose whether it's a buyer or a listing. This example, we're gonna use buyer. Class, it's a property. Property type, resale, that's the most common. That just means it's not a new construction home. You're reselling a home that's already existing. Yes?
I have a question under type.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a dual agent on this, do you rather click both listing and sell, or do you just go in and do both?
If you have both sides, you see it has the option here for both listing and sale, which will change a little bit what pops up, but I can show you that later. Okay, but for now, because it'll have you basically fill out the commission on both sides instead of just one side, but it'll auto-populate all that for you, so you'll know what to fill in. You'll see it. But for now, buyer, this is a resale. And then you fill in this. So this is only asking for a street number. It's confusing. I always try to put the full address. So street number is 123, street name, Main Street, not Main Street. City. And again, this is why I say fill out your cover sheet first, because then you'll have all this information already written down, and you can just look at your cover sheet and fill it in. Missouri, 65721, County Christian. Okay. Then it'll ask you these things. So I think a lot of you will or are already in the PC program or will be. So we're gonna say yes to this. If you will know if you're in the PC program or not though, so just answer accordingly. So this is where you put the other agent's name. So we're gonna pretend I'm the listing agent on this. So you would put my name in there, KW, or if it's Murney or whatever. If you don't know this information, look it up on Flex, just type in that agent's name in the search bar and it'll tell you their brokerage, the office number, it'll tell you all that. And so that's our number. Okay, good to this point? Everyone? Okay, just holler at me if you're not. And you'll click next. Every time you finish that page, you'll just click next. So sale price. One thing to note about this is this, you want to make sure you're putting in the amount that you're getting paid commission on. So sometimes it's not just the sales price. Say we sold this property and it were, the listing on MLS says the commission will be paid on sales price minus concessions. Have you ever seen that before? So if we sell this property for $100,000 and there's $5,000 in seller concessions, really what you're getting paid on is $95,000. That makes sense? That's the amount that you put in here. So you wouldn't put the actual sales price. You put what you're getting paid commission on. So, but for this case, we're going to use 100,000. Say there's, and you know, not every property is going to have that rule. Sometimes, even if there's $6,000 in commissions, they're still going to pay, or concessions, I'm sorry, they're still going to pay commission on the whole amount. It just depends on what the listing agent has worked out with your seller beforehand. If that makes sense, hopefully. Okay, then most of the time you're going to have your standard 3%. However, if you happen to have a flat fee, click flat and you can put in whatever that fee amount is. But for now, we're going to do percentage. So you're getting 3%, or if you are getting 2%, that's what you would put in there. Whatever you're getting, and then next. And then you'll type in the buyer's name, which is Jim and Pam Smith. Okay, and then next, that's all you gotta do on that page, and then seller, David and Nancy Jones. I made these names up. Okay, and then once you get done with that, you'll click next again. And this is the fun page. So I think I split it up into 2 pages because it was too long. So it's this and then the next one. This is where you're going to put in all the numbers. So but you don't have to fill out every blank. The first thing you're going to do is you want your own name in here. So click this little magnifying glass. It should already be in there for you. However, in my case, like if you're an admin, well, I'm an admin and an agent. So when I use Green Sheet, I use my own account. So like say I'm doing a contract for Josh, I have to go search his name to make sure that's in there. So if you ever have to search, just click that little magnifying glass, type in the last name, and you can select, and it'll put the agent's name in there. But your name should automatically be in there since it's your account. You won't have to change it if you're doing the green sheet for yourself. Okay, so the name and then agent role. If you're individual, if you're a buyer specialist, I mean, don't stress too much about that title. Just put individual agent if you're unsure. Type, this one was a buyer sale, which since we already selected buyer at the beginning, it's only gonna let us click buyer. Agency, buyer, or if you were dual, you would click dual. Sales unit, 1. If you have a split worked out with the team you're on, that's, you know, you would put whatever in there. I know that's different for every single team, but if you're just by yourself and doing this, the sales unit is 1. So if you already put in the commission, it auto-populates to 3,000. You can see that there. On this particular example, we're going to put in, we have a $250 transaction fee. That goes right here in the bonus admin fee section. So if you have a transaction fee, that's where that goes. And then click.
Do you charge all your agents $250 on every transaction?
No. Do I personally?
No. It's KW.
Oh, no, that's your preference. Some agents charge a transaction fee, some don't. But I just wanted to make sure that if you do, you know where that goes. So that's your preference. So, this is where you're gonna fill in your cap information, where this says 100% to agent. So we're gonna assume that everyone is not capped at this point. If you were, you would leave it at 100%. You'll click down, say split. Put 70 here, because it's 36% goes to the market center. However, there's your 30. The other 6 is down here in the 6% royalty section. You are not capped on that either, unless you are, obviously, click yes. Okay, and then it'll say, okay, here's your net amount. This is optional, but you have to fill it out if you want to donate or whatever. So we'll just put zeros in there for now. Don't worry about that. Okay, then on this example, we're gonna put $100 towards our family reunion fund. Family reunion fund, I think, is awesome because I use it for my tax account. So when I'm filling a green sheet out for myself and I want 25% of my check to go to an account so that I never get to touch that money, well, you can if you want it, but I don't want it to come out of my check. I want it to automatically go somewhere else. So that's where you would put in this deduction section. By the way, family reunion, I mean, you can use it for multiple things, but I use it personally for a tax account. That's where I want money to go into that comes straight out of my check. And the market center will cut you that check at the end of the year with whatever you have in there. So that's how I pay my taxes. You don't have to, but I just think it's kind of cool. So if you wanted to do that, this is where you would put that deduction in. And so we're gonna put $100 in there. They're gonna automatically take $100 from your check and put it in this account. So you won't, on your final check, you will not have that amount in there. And then if you're in PC coaching, I know everyone has a different amount. You'll know what amount you're supposed to hold out of your check. So you'll put PC coaching in here. We're gonna say it's 200. So then that way that'll go straight out of your check to your coach or wherever it goes. So that's how you fill out your green sheet. That's where everything goes. Once you are done with that section, those are the required sections. Once you get to that point, you're done. You would go up to the top and submit. It'll ask you again, submit. And then how I showed you, to get it as a PDF, you'll go up here to print, printable view. And remember how I showed you save it. It might not do it because I'm not actually submitted, but you'll go up to printable view, save it, which I think I have on your sheet. And then once you go into Dotloop, because once you fill this out, you'll need to put it right in your loop because the office needs that document. You'll go into whatever folder you want it to go in. If you want it in buyer's documents, click add document, browse, and you'll throw your green sheet in there.
Is there a way to edit green sheets?
Yes. I'll get to that next. Once all your documents are in your loop, your green sheet's in there, everything's good to go, you're gonna submit your loop. So we're not actually gonna do this, but we're gonna pretend. You'll go up here to submit, check all of the folders. It'll make you select a type, whether it's a buyer or seller, and then you'll hit submit. And how Dotloop works is, so you'll submit your file, and there's a compliance department, which I don't know where it is, yeah, wherever they are. They have automatic access to your loop. When you submit that loop, they're gonna start looking for it through it for corrections. Like, hey, you missed a box that needs to be checked here on the contract. They will send you messages here. So when they have sent you a message, it'll be bright orange. You'll know, hey, I need to look at that to get my corrections or say, hey, you're missing a signature on this document, or you need to put the address on here, or whatever. They will tell you exactly what you need. So periodically, I'll go in here and check my corrections from compliance and work on those. And once I have corrected documents and put them back in the Dotloop file, I'll resubmit it again. And they'll say, great, you got these 4, but I still need this. You know, I just, probably annoying to them, but I just keep resubmitting until they finally say, hey, file is complete. And you want them to say that before closing, because you don't want to be chasing down documents after closing. So make sure that that file is complete before that. Those are basically all of the functions that I use in Dotloop. I know some people use like tasks down here or whatever. All you need to know is once you submit your loop, they're going to tell you what you need to fix in here. Yes.
How long does it usually take for the compliance part of that?
It depends on the day, but sometimes they may get back to you that day. If they're really busy, maybe 1 or 2 days.
Okay.
If you ever need something urgent, go in here, click new note, click this compliance, contact right here, type a note. I mean, I type a note like, hey, this is closing today and I haven't gotten any notes on my corrections yet. I need to know what I need to correct. And they'll usually jump in and be like, oh, here you go. Because sometimes, I mean, normally they'll respond and you'll see that message box lit up. Sometimes it just gets missed and you have to manually message them. I mean, I have had to do that before, so just be aware of that.
Average is 24 hours. Okay.
Yeah, most of the time they don't, they don't miss one, but. Okay. So then you are all submitted and good to go with that. And then one more thing in Dotloop before I move on to contract to close stuff. This is kind of out of order, but since we're in Dotloop, I want you to know it. When you go to closing, after it's closed, the closer is going to give you a stack of papers with your check to Keller Williams. It won't have your name on it, it will have Keller Williams. To Keller Williams and all the closing documents, the CDs and stuff, closing disclosures and whatnot. To turn in your loop and submit your loop for the final time and to get paid, what you have to do is take that stack of papers and your check that they give you, scan it in to your loop, scan it to your email, save it as a PDF, put it in your loop, submit that file again. And then as long as everything's corrected and all your corrections are done and you have the message up there in that message box that says file is complete, you should get your check. And if you turn it in by noon, the office will get it to you that day. Turn it in afternoon, it'll be the next day.
And it's by like 5.
And you'll get 5 o'clock. Yes, and you'll get an email from Renee or Tori or whoever that says, hey, your check's ready. But that is how you have to have that in there to get paid. So if you're like, hey, this closed, but I don't have my check, it's like, oh, did you put your check and documents in the loop and then submit it? Okay, that's what you have to do.
And there's a clipboard, you sign your check in, yes, and put it underneath, it's at the front desk, and then they go and get them at the appropriate times during the day, and then they start going through those loops and making sure they're all correct.
Yes.
Is your cover sheet fillable? Is it in your templates and fillable?
I do everything by hand and scan it into the loop because that's just a personal thing for me because if I write something down, I'll remember it way better. If I type it in, it's just not the same. It's a visual weird thing for me. So I actually hand fill out everything. I actually have manila folders that have my listing or buyer checklist, whatever is in my cover sheet in there because if I'm on the phone and I need to find out something real quick, I just grab that and open it and all my information is right there. And like I said, the more you fill it out, the better.
And is there a way to organize your templates in that?
Yes, I was going to get through contract to close and then do that because I don't want to confuse everyone. Sure. If people don't want to know that, they can go ahead and go. But yes, and it's super easy too. We'll get there. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about how to do corrections and where those come from?
I just had a quick question. Did I hear you correctly? So the check and the settlement statement, they need to be submitted?
You have to put them into your loop. Yep, that stack, I did the stack that they give me at the title company, I take it, put it on the scanner, scan it into my email, download it as a PDF, and upload it to the loop. And then submit. And that lets, once you submit, that lets the office know that, hey, this is in here. Yeah, that's right.
Because they go back and check it whenever they get the checks that are up front. They go back through and just make sure. They just double check it all before they start cutting.
Oh, and as far as editing a green sheet, which happens a lot, like if you make a mistake, it is A-okay. I do it all the time. What you're gonna do, try to explain this without actually having a green sheet in here. So remember when we went in here and added a signature? Pretend this is your green sheet. Okay, so your green sheet's in here and you realize, oh crap, I forgot to put that I want $100 to go to my family reunion fund. I need to put that on there. You'll open your green sheet, pretend this is a green sheet, where we're supposed to put in that amount down at the bottom. You're going to edit it. You're going to edit your green sheets. You're going to go up here, add text. So you have a little text box now that you can put down in that deduction spot. So I'm going to put box there, and then a box there, and I'm going to put it in the deduction spot and put family reunion or reunion, and then I'm going to put what is supposed to be in there. So you have that in there now. It's fixed. Save. I don't share anything. I don't share that. So don't share. You'll then send that revised green sheet to, I send it to Renee and Rachel. Is that, I don't know, or Tori, I mean.
Yeah, the AMCA email is the one that goes to.
Or, well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say, or if you are in a pinch or something and you can't figure out how to download it and send it in an email, just make sure you notify in some way Rachel or Renee or whoever, say, hey, this property, I have a revised green sheet, here's what I added. They can go in then and see that and then fix your DA, and they'll put a new DA in there, which is the disbursement authorization. Once you submit your file, you'll see that pop up in there. It just shows the breakdown. Here's what the office has of how you're getting paid. Check that, make sure it's correct, and if it is, sign it. But I always wait kind of until I get everything back and the check from the closing company and make sure everything matches, and then I'll sign it. Yes.
Is there a way to check where you are on the rates, or do you just have to keep track of that?
You can look on your MyKW, and
Is that easy? Could you tell us?
Should be able to ask Kelly that too.
Okay.
that,
That's pretty good.
I just know that I never have, so.
It is on my KW, if you look at our like,
But
Okay.
honestly, and like, I always bug Renee all the time. She knows everything, I feel like. So if you have a question about your cat, just say, hey Renee, you know where I'm at on my cat right now? Because I have to do that for a lot of my agents, because if I'm taking on contracts from another agent, I have no idea what their cap is and I can't log into their KW. So I just shoot Renee, and say, hey, do you know where this person is on the cap? If you ever can't figure out how to look, just ask Renee. Okay, any questions about Dotloop before we move on? Yes.
I was taught years ago, in your contract, Dotloop, you scan it to your email. Then you go to Dotloop. I'm lost there, can you,
How to get the contract into Dotloop?
after you scan it to your email, send an email to
There's two ways to do it, because you can just email right from there. So if you go up to add document, you can like forward it from your email to Dotloop.
Oh gosh, I have never done that.
That's what I do. So
Yeah, click that.
you click email, and then you copy the clipboard, and then you go to that email from your scan, you just forward it, and you just copy, you paste that right, and then send. So, yeah, that was.
Or
Yeah,
you remember how when, okay. If you have something in your email, look at this, okay. Yeah, okay, come on. There you go. Okay, so here, I have scanned this to my email and I see it pop up in my email. You know how to do that part, right? Okay. Open it. Go here to print. And instead of printing it, save as a PDF. It'll give you, like, it'll probably show up like this at first as the default to print. I mean, you've probably done that before. Change it to save as PDF. Save. Remember that, what that looks like.
About change that name to something.
Or change that name.
1, 2, 6,
However you wanna
brown,
do it.
something.
Yeah, and then you'll go into your loop, browse, and you can grab that document, open, and then it'll be in the loop.
yeah. Go to your email, you scan it, go to your email, then you send it to Dotloop.
I just save and upload it, yeah.
Then when you get to Dotloop, there's a
It'll say what it is.
file number.
Yeah.
10, 15,
Mm-hmm.
30 numbers. That's where I get lost at. Then when I first started years ago, Chris Day taught me when you email your contract, scan an email to you, you need to separate it then.
Do the split.
Yeah, for
Split
the
the
split.
document.
Do you have to do it then, or?
No, you mean he's saying split it and then scan it?
Or like right when it gets into the loop, that's split.
I mean, you split it early
Mm-hmm.
when you first started. And when they taught me when I first started here, I believe when you scan the documents
Mm-hmm.
to email, that's when you split it.
Oh,
Is
that's,
that right?
I don't know. I don't know if that's even possible, splitting
Well,
documents in
I
an
mean,
email.
Nicole and the other girls,
Sorry.
Tori, no, not Tori, the other
Rachel?
one. No, Rachel.
Like,
But
so it must.
you all told me, when you scan it to email, send that to your Dotloop. You go ahead and smoke your parts, right?
Right.
You don't have to separate it.
You don't have to, but it makes your life a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, that's how she separated them. It's easier for her to find my documents and find the comparisons. So that's the first time I did it. Yeah. So, I mean, you can leave them all in one big document, or you can.
Once you start making any changes to it, you cannot split it at that point. Then it becomes a single document. You start adding signatures, you're doing anything to it.
It'll make your life easier if you split it like that. I mean, and the other one, like, if you ever want to practice that.
When you submit your document to Wyatt, you don't have to scan that anything else. You go ahead and submit it. That's why it's lost that. I need one-on-ones.
How about you just email me and we can practice together and I can.
And for $25, there's a PDF Pro 10 that I bought, and you can add, split, rearrange, put them together. Lots of people like stuff all put together. So, you know, there's programs out there to help you with that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, however you want to do it, yeah, but it just makes your life easier if you get it in Dotloop and split every document up so that it's not one long, because if you have to make corrections to one long thing, it makes it kind of difficult, so. I'm gonna try and get through the contract to close part, and then if you have any specific questions about Dotloop or anything else, feel free to come up to me after class too, and I can answer those. If it's after 12:30, I can stay, answer whatever else you need. Okay, so we've gone through the first step. So again, once you get a contract, this is what you need to do. You need to set up your loop just like we did. I always fill out my cover sheet because that helps me then fill out my green sheet. Fill out that green sheet, put that into your loop, submit it, and then we start, here's where we start sending things out and getting the contract initiated with the title company, the lender, and all that, and who you need to send what to and everything. Because that other stuff up until this point is just internal office stuff here. You know, when you submit your loop, that just goes to like our office basically. This is, once you do that, you can start sending it to the outside world. I have update closing board on there as the next step. That's just, if you have a closing board on the wall in your office where you keep track of all your under contracts, you know, however you want to keep track. I, again, write everything down on a piece of paper that I like drew lines on. So however you want to do that. Okay. So another reason you want to fill out that cover sheet first, which again, whatever cover sheet your team wants you to use, you want to use for yourself, you'll need to send, and if it's a buyer, for example, you want to send the contract, the commission information to the title company and lender. That's what you need to do first, after, of course, you set up your loop. I just go ahead and send my cover sheet to them because it has all the information they need. You'll send the contract to the title company and the lender, if it's a buyer. If, you know, obviously if you have the seller, you're not maybe gonna have the contact information from the lender.
You said a hard copy? Or?
Nope, just
So
just an email PDF.
So your cover sheet is digital, basically.
I upload it to my loop after I write on it.
Oh, so you fill out everything, upload it, and then it's part of your loop that you share with everybody.
And if you don't want to do that, in your email where you send the contract out, you can just list. Like if I don't have time to scan in my cover sheet, I just make a list. They're gonna wanna know the commission amounts, you know, because this is all stuff that they have to know on their end. And if they don't get it, they'll ask me for it, so don't be too worried. But they're gonna want the commission information, your client's contact info. They have to have that because they need to reach out to your client about getting documents signed on their end as well. The lender obviously probably already has that information. They're gonna wanna know who the other agent is, you know, what side you have. It's very important that at this time you tell them, hey, by the way, there's a 250 transaction fee, don't forget to put that on there, kind of thing. When the closing date is, the sales price, you know, anything special that they can't see on the contract necessarily. As much information as you can give the title company, they're gonna love you. So load them up. And obviously I just include the lender in that same email so that they have all that information as well, even though they've already been talking to your buyers. The next thing I do is, sometimes I do these out of order, but I always send an email to the other agent, especially if you're the admin. I always send an email to the other agent saying, hey, here's who I am. If you need anything, please include me in the emails. Please let me know what you need at this point. Just want to make sure that the other side is covered as well, because They may be missing documents, or they may be like, hey, I haven't gotten a signed counter offer yet. I didn't know we were under contract. Oh, here you go. So always reach out just to make sure that the other side has what they need. Check with them. Say, hey, if you happen to have an admin that I need to include in my communications, make sure that other side is covered. Then the next thing I do, whether it's a buyer or a seller, I call it my next steps email. Me as an admin, especially, I send out an email saying, hey, and it differs with every agent, but hey, here's when the inspection notice is due by. The first thing we need to do is schedule inspections. So, again, just depends. Different agents I work for have different companies they recommend or whatever. So however you want to do that, and make sure that their earnest money has gotten to it, or they have a plan to get it to the title company as well, because inspection and earnest money, those are two time-sensitive things. So you need to make sure that that's getting taken care of from the very beginning.
Do you have the time limits on that?
So earnest money has to be deposited within 10 days of going under contract. The inspection, you have to get the inspection and get your inspection notice, which if you don't know what that is, it's the request sheet that you have your repairs sent over, say, hey, these are the repairs we want to ask for. That depends on what is on the contract. It was on page 3, I believe. I'll show you. And I always fill that out on my cover sheet saying, hey, here's when the inspection notice is due to the other agent. Page 3. So here's the inspections page on page 3 of the contract. In section D, this blank right here will tell you how many days you have. Of course, if you wrote the contract, you'll know. But if you're reading someone else's contract, if you're an admin, this is where you find that. One of the first things I do is put that date in my agent's calendar, so that there's a notification on that day that pops up saying, hey, your inspection notice is due, because if you don't get that inspection notice over, you're out of luck with getting repairs done. So, that's a conversation for contracts. But, and you always start counting the next day. So if you went under contract today, the 13th, we'd start counting 1 on the 14th. So the first day starts on the next day, if that makes sense. Okay.
That common number 10.
That's what the
More like-
contract defaults
I
to.
know,
A lot of people put 15,
but 15.
especially during the busy season,
How are you
because
gonna get somebody, they'll push it out a week and a half, if that 10
Right.
doesn't work.
right. And if it's usually if you put 15 days, you're pretty safe.
Yeah.
You can get someone out there. If not, if you're like getting down to the wire and you're like, this person's not gonna be able to go out here, just talk to the other agent, say, hey, can we sign an amendment extending that inspection period and send it over? Most of the time that's okay, unless you're in a super tight like, cash deal situation, but where there's not very much time for the closing and your person. But most of the time, if you just call the other agent and say, hey, can we have a couple more days? So usually it's fine.
Because we all know, inspection is one thing, getting all that worked out, and then we got the appraisal coming, and they might want different stuff from the bank, we'll want stuff. And then pretty soon you're almost ready to close, and that stuff going.
Yeah, and so as far as the next step, kind of in the process, once you get the inspection coordinated and scheduled, and again, I'm speaking more from a contract to close admin side. Your clients, you may prefer your clients specifically to schedule it themselves and just let you know. Sometimes I schedule it myself. Just make sure that they do it.
Yeah, don't do it. Make sure they get them what you.
After that, kind of onto the appraisal period, the lender will schedule the appraiser. That's not something that you as an agent or admin do. The lender will order that and, schedule it. So you just need to make sure that you kind of know what's going on there, like check in, hey, we have the appraisal, I haven't heard yet, which is not gonna happen right at the beginning. You gotta give them a couple weeks to get out there and do it. But just be checking on that and making sure if you're on the buy side, checking with the lender, like, hey, is this in yet? And is it good? Because, you know, the appraiser may come back and say, hey, it's only appraised for 98 and you need all these repairs done. So there could be things that need to be done with that as well. But again, as far as the admin side of it, just be checking on that. I'm not gonna go into like all the documents that you necessarily need. That's probably it's a whole other can of worms in another class, so. Things that, this is the most important part, I feel like, for contract to close. There are certain things that the title company and lender has to have. There are certain documents that they have to have so that they have their numbers right. And there's no specific timeline that you need to get them these things. It's just make sure that you get them to them not the day before closing. Because as you know, they send out their settlement statements and whatnot before that to the clients. So a lot of times in a contract, buyers are going to have seller paid concessions. Oh gosh. Seller paid concessions, like I believe on this one there was 1,000. So that's closing costs, another word for closing costs basically. So if you have a buyer who's getting their inspection paid by the seller as part of their closing costs, you have to get that invoice to the title company so that they know that, or else you're going to get to the closing table and that inspection invoice is just hanging out in the middle of nowhere and someone's got to pay it and it's not on the seller's settlement statement because the title company never got it. So, and I even send them, if they've already paid for it, if I have a paid invoice that shows the buyer has already paid for it, I send that too so that they don't get confused and try to put an inspection fee on their settlement statement. So again, whoever is supposed to pay for it, get that invoice to the title company, tell them this is going to be paid by the sellers at closing. So they know how to set that up. Also, other invoices, home warranty invoices, you got to get that to the title company as well. If a seller is providing a home warranty, set that up, send the invoice to the title company. Hey, seller's paying this at closing. Here's the invoice. Another thing that
does that part of the listing too.
the home warranty, selling. Well, I see that normally the buyer's agent sets it up because they're the one. They're the one who has gone over with their buyers the amount that they're getting and what the buyer is wanting out of that package. So they usually set it up. I have had the listing agent just go ahead and send it up to as well if it's simple. I've had on contracts where the buyer wants $600 of a home warranty paid. Well, I had to call them and figure out what packages they wanted because the standard is like $485, but they wanted to add a bunch of stuff. And so I just did that because I was the one who coordinated what they wanted. Either way, I always just check and make sure. I just always assume that I have to do it. Always assume that the other agent has not sent anything to the title company and you'll be pretty safe. Another thing that will get you that you need to send is if the property is, on propane, you will need to, and Dawn, you might need to clarify which side is supposed to get the reading, or is it just?
It just depends. If it's a lease deal, the best thing to do is verify if your client is going to go ahead and use the same company. Odds are they probably are. And the company, whoever that is, will go out there and read it, determine how much more they're going to put in, and you guys can figure out the credit to the seller as to what is appropriate for that. The main thing to note on that is just make sure that it's actually owned and not leased. Because if it's owned, then they get whatever credit is of what's in it. They've already paid for that. If it's leased, they have paid for it, but you can still offset that with the company and work it out that way.
It's like the same thing as, HOA fees. They get, or taxes, they get a credit for what they've already paid up to, and, a buyer has to pay for what they're going to continue out for the rest of the year, if that makes sense. It's proration. Taxes, title company will worry about prorating that, but just make sure that they're correct when you look at it. But yes, propane is what that will get you. My very first deal, I didn't even think about propane, and then the day of closing, the seller was like upset because they weren't gonna get paid for the propane that they had prepaid for, they weren't gonna get credited that, and then I had to pay it out of my pocket, so I'll never forget that. Yeah, it's like, how do you know that? It's just like,
How do you know how much?
that's
it's
why,
gonna
and that's
be
why I'm
unless
telling
they
you,
go-
you have the company come out and
The
do a
company has
reading.
to come out. and do
So the company comes out and does a reading, here's how much is left,
It's a big deal.
get that amount to the title company and say, hey, here's how much is in there, get the amount per, I don't know, what is it, per gallon or something? Just make sure that that's prorated correctly so that everyone's getting their equal. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, closer to closing to get a more accurate reading, I guess, but don't wait too long. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to be waiting that day, like, oh, still waiting on the propane reading, can't close yet, you know? Oh, yeah. Okay, one thing I really do want to stress too. I'm just trying to think of things that I forgot, like I didn't know when I first deal. Yeah, so invoices, make sure those go to the title company. Home warranties, inspections. If you have a seller and they're having a repair done and they're just saying, hey, we're gonna bill it to closing, make sure you get that repair invoice to the title company. You know, anything that's gonna be handled at the closing, the title company has to have documentation. Don't forget that. One way to help yourself, help remind you of that is, I'm not gonna lie, when I first started, Don's gonna be like, oh my God. When I first started, when the title company sent the settlement statements, which is just the breakdown of what your buyer or seller is paying at closing, and you think, oh, do I need to look at that? Yes, you do. Because my first few deals, I was like, I don't know what this is, and I just didn't pay attention to it. See, that's where the propane got me. Like, yes, you need to look at those. It's gonna have on there whether your buyer is paying for the home warranty themselves, if the seller's paying for it, what your commission is. I mean, not that this happens a lot, but sometimes transaction fees get left off a settlement statement. That needs to be on there to make sure that that's part of the check that the title company is going to cut you. Unless you don't see it on there, you're like, oh well, I'm not going to push it. You know, that's up to you. It's your transaction fee. You want to make sure your commission's right. I mean, I've had settlement statements before where the commission was off for whatever reason. You know, if an appraisal comes in low, you got to change that commission out. You got to make sure the title company and lender knows, hey, sales price is different. Commission is now 3% of 98,000 instead. Any updates like that, they have to know. Which you guys may be way better agents than me. I just didn't realize that when I first started. So like I would just not tell anybody and just assume that everyone knew, but that's not the case. It has to come from you.
I just sent my other agent know about the property, so there you go.
Well,
I didn't
see,
even think
and I'm
about
like,
that.
that was my first deal, and I thought, how in the world did I know that? And it's in the contract, but you should know that. But, you know, it's just hard to know everything for the very first ones. Like, I didn't know that I was supposed to send inspection invoices to the title company. I just thought they just appear there. Someone gets them there. I don't know who, but no, you should do that. Other things just to remember that'll get you, if it's a rural property, make sure you get not only a home inspection and a termite, septic and well inspection. You'll need to get that too ordered.
What about surveys?
If necessary, like that's not something, especially on normal residential properties, but I think that,
Well, I'm trying to answer this question because I currently have.
yeah. I guess she's asking Dawn, when would you recommend getting a survey done? In what instances?
If you've got a big rural property, if you've got a dispute between neighbors, if you've got somebody that's wanting to put a fence up and you think that there might be an issue with that, I've done a handful of them in 20 years. I very rarely does it come up. But, you know, if you've got like a meets and a bounds, legal description, that's not always bad because I don't know if this is the corner you're talking about or that's the corner, and they'll come out and they'll pin all that for you so you know exactly what you're getting. Especially if you're buying acres, because the difference in price in 300 acres and 290 should be something. So you need to make sure that what they're representing is actually there. But I don't think you'll run into it a whole lot, honestly.
So if you have somebody buying property out in the middle of nowhere and it's sold before, you should be okay with that?
It's a conversation to have with your buyer. We're going to go based on what the title company says that it is. If you need to put a fence up, you may have to have somebody come out and pin the corners for you without a complete survey, which they can do at a lesser expense than the full-blown survey. But if you're concerned about this at all, this is a conversation we need to have right now, because if you're going to refute that survey, now is the time for us to do that.
A question, what about well easement, well agreement?
Agreements, need to make sure they're on file, because just because you and I have an agreement doesn't mean that you've got an agreement with the new buyer.
Yeah,
Because we could have a gentleman's handshake agreement that, yeah, I'm gonna split whatever costs they are, and then the new person comes in and all of a sudden you decide to be mean and you're gonna put 75% on it. So there's no filed agreement. So it should be
all arranged.
Absolutely. Yeah, title company should be able to find out if there's one on file. And if there's not, then you need to find out who else pulling off of that well and who's in charge of it and what the expectations are. Because they could move in tomorrow, the well could fail Wednesday, and then we got to figure out who's paying for it, who's responsible, making phone calls and those kinds of things. And that's what the agreement actually could do for you.
So the roadies and the.
Absolutely. All that should be filed and indicated as to who has access and for what purpose.
And will that be under your inspection reports, or will that be under that property data that you have so many days?
No, that's not, the survey is under your inspection report, because that's the thing that we've got a certain amount of time to actually do that, but that also includes the survey as far as your closing is concerned. That's your time frame in there too. So surveys will take longer, and you need to be mindful of that. I'm not going to get this in and out in 15 days. You need to make the other agent aware, hey, our inspection period, we're carrying this over because of the survey issue.
But what about the shared well agreement? Is that with the inspection, or would you?
I would find that out at the earliest available opportunity.
Yeah,
Because that's a big deal. The well agreements could be a big deal. Because if there's not one on file, for my buyer, I want one on file before we buy the property, which means we're going to get it written up and we're going to get it filed, we're going to get it done. And if I'm still going to close in 45 days, I need to be on my horse to get down the road with that. Because it's not a hard process, but it's not necessarily a quick one either. Especially if you've got a neighbor that we've never had one written down. Why do we have to do that now? Well, because you're no longer dealing with the same person.
And one thing, I don't want to, I know you're adults and you guys will, have your own system, but I just have learned, write everything down, or if you have a notes section in your Dotloop, write everything down. I write down, hey, this is the date that I sent out the inspection invoice. So I'm not going to remember. I mean, if you have a lot of deals going, you're not going to remember. Did I send that out? Look at my cover sheet. Oh yeah, I sent it this date. We're good. But again, one of the most important things is look at that settlement statement when the title company sends it out the day or a couple days before closing. As long as everything is on there that is supposed to be paid out at closing, who is supposed to be paying it, if your commission is correct, look at all that stuff. Because that's what'll get you. That's where your check's going to be cut from, and if it's wrong, it's harder to go back and say, oh, well, seller, I know you were supposed to pay the home warranty at closing, but I forgot to send the invoice. Can you write me a check for $150? I mean, it's kind of awkward. So, yeah, so once you send the contract out to everyone who needs to, you got your inspection scheduled, you've sent your inspection notice to the other agent within your time period. Again, I strongly urge you, whatever calendar you use, write that in red. I mean, I have missed an inspection notice sending before, and it didn't turn out well. Yes. Fail forward.
As a new agent, do you get somebody to talk to you about issues with your contract?
We can absolutely do that. I was going to say that when she was done, I'm going to give everybody my number, and I also have access to Dotloop. I can look at any of your stuff too, so. But
Yeah, I mean, if you ever have a
sign up for the
question.
coaching program, then you absolutely will, and if not, we can make that happen for you. Anyway.
And anyone in the office will be glad to help you, seriously, I'm here if you ever need me, you have my email now, because I sent you all something, but,
I mean, I've done a few deals, but some of my deals right now pending are just crazy. And I need advice sometimes, so,
Yeah.
you know.
anyone would be glad to help you, and anyone will point you in the right
But
direction.
you're not the assigned person that is your contact that you could discuss that.
If you're not in a coaching program, no. But typically what we say.
Because I didn't say,
staff-
they didn't say I had a team or anything,
Right,
so.
right. Typically with any contract type issues or questions, we always say to our workers, because they're the ones that are allowed to basically get that information. If it's something like you're having an issue with a different sort of document, or you need help with like Dotloop or green sheet or something, then ask them back.
Good.
Yeah, if you're not in the coaching program, because if you're in the coaching program, you get it. I never saw
And
that.
that's an additional fee.
Yeah. We're gonna discuss that.
I'm gonna say, you can probably set that up even outside of that. I'm sure there's people who are there.
Yeah.
Other than that, as far as, contract to close stuff, once you're through inspections, especially if you're on the buyer side, you want to be reaching out to that agent, checking in, give them some time, obviously, but you want to be checking in, hey, are repairs done? Because, you'll want to do that final walkthrough with your client before the closing.
Once the repair is done, is that agent supposed to give you something that is these are completed? Just because they say, oh, they're all done, but I kind of wanted something showing.
You can
that
ask,
it's done.
if you want proof of invoices, put that in your inspection notice. Say, hey, I want proof of invoices of these repairs. Or re-inspections are usually around $100. The inspector will go give him a list of what repairs were supposed to be done. He'll go out and just specifically take a look at those repairs. But again, it's an extra charge, but if your buyer feels more comfortable doing that, absolutely. I always recommend re-inspections. If it's easy stuff that they can see, like, oh, this light fixture needs to be screwed in, I would see that on the final walkthrough, and it'd be okay. But, I always recommend getting a re-inspection once repairs are done, just saying, to keep you safe. Regardless, if they're not gonna do one, if they choose not to do one, and you're just gonna do a final walkthrough, that's kind of your last step before closing. I always say, schedule it as close to the closing as you possibly can, because that's kind of your chance to walk through and make sure that.
I don't know how much stuff can be done, but closing's the next day and you do a walkthrough the night before. And they don't like something,
Right, that's why if it's big
Water.
stuff, I recommend getting a re-inspection a few days before closing, a week before closing. You never just want to walk through and be like, oh yeah, that repair looks like it's been done. Because, especially me, what do I know about repairs on houses? If there's a leak or something, I'm not going to be able to tell. But regardless, once your final walkthrough is done, you'll need that final walkthrough sheet, which is listed in my Loop example. That's one of the required documents to get paid. Get that signed and get in there. Yeah. I talked way longer than I thought. So, there's so much to know.
Drinking from a fire.
I know, and you'll get it. Like, just know that everyone in the office is here to help. If you ever need anything to know, what do I do next? Where do I send this? Come find me. I'm usually around here somewhere. Have Renee call me. I'll come down or something. But, if you have any other questions that I did not answer, just come up to me and I'll hang out for a while.
And if you've not sent me, those of you that don't know me, I'm Don, I'm one of your brokers. If you've not texted me your phone number, please do that right now so you're in my phone. That way when you call me with a question, I actually answer the phone call. So I get so many that I don't know who they are. So put that in there, call me with questions, send me your info right now, I have it sitting in my phone.
Hopefully, I my little handout will at least keep
Yeah,
you
just text
surviving.
me who you are, your first and last name. I'll put
Keep you surviving for a while. I mean, it's just some stuff you just will never know until you experience it. That's just. And like I said, I made some mistakes in the beginning that now I'm going to share with you so that you don't do, like paying for propane And not checking my settlement statements, so be better than me. Oh, yes.
I have a question on Dotloop. So like this fake loop that we just made, can we delete them and get rid of them? How do you do that?
Yes.
And then what about if you put a wrong file into a loop? Do you have to archive it or can you delete something?
If you're talking about if you put a specific document into Dotloop that's not supposed to be in there, just archive it.
Just archive it.
Yeah.
That's big. Okay.
Yeah. And again, there's a little feature that if you need to delete something out of Dotloop, by the way, you can archive it, press those 3 little dots next to it, archive it. It doesn't go away forever. If you accidentally delete it, you can get it back, just unarchive it.
I also noticed that you'll get notifications all the time, like you need to sign something or someone else has signed something. So it's not like it's lost. I mean, I even got like text messages saying, you need to sign this or, so you'll be notified.
You will be notified.
When you're added to a team, like I'm working as admin, and he's constantly getting emails, like, hey, so-and-so signed, so-and-so did this. I'm not getting that, so I'm having to get all that information from him. Is there a way, once I'm added to this team, where I'm getting those?
What are you using? What email are you using?
KW email.
And you're not getting those emails?
Like, he has to share everything with me. Like,
Even though
I'm
she's
not-
added to the team?
You should be, you're just not in the loop function somehow, yeah.
Because if you're added to the team, you should be getting those, right?
Yeah, we just have to designate as to when those notifications happen, who they were supposed to do.
Okay, so.
Right now it's designated, just when it doesn't.
So when he asks you, there's like different options, like do you want to do edit only? What option do I do?
You should be under, the one you can do is the edit sign,
Yeah, can edit and sign.
edit in private or whatever that is.
And it may also be that you need to change your overall notification functions as well. Like that would be important.
Honestly, my Dotloop is with my KW email, which I never use, so I just have to manually go in there and check if stuff's been signed.
Some of these make things harder for yourself, obviously.
I'm self-taught, so it's wrong.
So
That's just,
Can you go over that template thing real quick? Yes, is there, I'd like to know how to do, like, for one, how you organize your template. If I can add some to your big daily, I take down cover sheet. And then also, adjusting and be able to fill in signs, not be bad spots.
Yeah, and you'll do it on.
okay, so if you want to make your own folder so that, like, for example, let's see, let's go to Dotloop page. So we're gonna go to templates. Okay, all these folders over here. So you're wanting to make
I want to make,
your like a buyer folder.
yeah, like my seller, he sells every week, and this have all the costs.
All like the blank listing docs that are trying out, or his pre-fills.
Oh, like right now, we have 2 different folders with different sellers that you should take care of. And so I just like click on our guys' name and all of the stocks, go there, there's every time.
So to make a new folder to where you can just, that folder is gonna have all your templates in there that you want.
How do you do this? Do you in a file or?
Nope, just go to your main homepage. You go
Oh,
to
templates.
templates.
And it's also just up there at the top too, you can use that whole bar. You don't have to go to the page.
Okay.
So,
Either way.
see, I don't know everything. I just know enough to get by with my, with what I do.
So
No.
I see, so
So-
add a folder.
New
add a
folder
Okay.
and name it like Jim's listing docs or something, whatever you want to name it, create, and then see it's up here. So if you want to add whatever document, if it's already saved in your computer that you want to add, or you just want to add blank templates. So like, okay, I want the inspection providers in this folder.
Okay.
Copy that. I want the seller's disclosure statement in this folder. Copy. I mean, you can go through and add whatever document that you specifically want in there.
So like, you know, templates already have this spot where you can go in and like, you know, next to sellers, you can send sellers. So I have docs like on my desktop now. And I want those in the loop, and I want those to be able to have the boxes already. I don't want to put like add.
In every single thing.
Yeah, I want, like, I know there's a way to do it, I just don't know how. You know what I'm saying?
So you're just wanting to add like something you already have on your computer saved. So you would just go to browse and get that from your computer.
Yeah.
Clicking templates, okay. And then, I guess I'm not necessarily.
So like, I made a cover sheet on like Word, and I put in, I'm making, like your little sheet that you made, you know, your checklist. And then I want to be able to go in the loop and write, you know, like this one date, click this date, click this, you know, type in the seller's name. Fillable. I want it to be fillable.
So you'll basically, whatever document you're wanting to use, you're gonna have to upload it and it's just gonna be blank. The first one, but you're gonna put it in your template folder.
Okay.
So when you add text in your template folder, then it will automatically like always have that. It'll always have your text in
So
there.
the first
you
time I
can-
do it,
Yeah.
I just need to do it all.
You need it in a template, yes.
Okay.
And you can pre-fill a lot of that information.
Okay.
So, yeah, so then that way you don't have to constantly, every single time you add it to a new loop, you don't have to constantly put the same information in over and over and over again that you always put in, like exact information and stuff like that.
Okay.
You can do that all through templates and just hit save, and that'll always be in there every time you add that document to your new loop. Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense. Thank you.
So we can send contracts for buyers and sellers to sign via Dotloop. That's cool. And then they have to just create an account and they'll get paid free whatevers. And
Yeah.
That's what I see.
Yeah, it'll make them have a
So
password.
everything's through Dotloop. What about lenders and title shop? Do we just add them to it too? And that's how they get everything as well?
That's your preference. So if you want to add a lender,
It's not working. I don't think.
huh? Oh, you're good. If you want to add a lender as a contact so that you can share things straight from Dotloop to them, like I said, I use my Gmail and my Dotloop's hooked to my KW, so I manually download and send PDFs to lenders and title companies.
Through Gmail?
Yeah.
Oh, so you
But
don't,
you can just add them as a contact in here.
and then they can have access to it.
Yeah, don't put them on your team,
Right.
but that way you can share stuff. So
Add
like,
person and just add
if I wanted to share, yeah, and I wanted to send to title company, just click share,
Right.
click who you're wanting to send it to, attach PDF to email, that'll make everyone's life easier. Because that way it'll just automatically send as a PDF and not have to have them go into the loop. Yeah, just a PDF and you can share it, you can email it to them that way, and it'll just send straight to them.
Awesome sauce.
Okay.
Oh,
So for us people who've been using Transdesk, that will be no more. We need to be using that. Because that's how we get paid and that's how we get, with compliance, people checking.
Yes, sir. And we can discuss all that. Thank you.
Because I know my Transdesk.
No, it's honestly,